Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We finished off last time وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِي الْكِتَابِ لَفِي شِقَاقٍ بَعِيدٍ, and certainly those who differed over the book are in this huge dispute, so far in their opinions from one another. And one of the things that the people of the book differed on was the qibla, or the direction to face during prayer, which has been a topic that we've been discussing a lot about. So Allah is saying, لَيْسَ الْبِرُّ. Oh, what happened there? Oops. Sorry, everyone. Okay, let me get that back. Okay. لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ. Bir, or righteousness and goodness, is laysa, is not. And tuwallu, that you turn, wujuhakum, and tuwallu wujuhakum, that you turn your faces, qibala, toward al-mashriq wal-maghrib. So al-mashriq is the east and al-maghrib is the west. So ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب. It's not really where you're facing that really makes you a good person or not a good person. It's about, we're doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us to do. It's not really the direction that matters so much. ولكن البر, but righteousness, bir, is man amana billahi wal yawmil akhiri, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, wal malaikati, and the angels, wal kitabi, the book, wal nabiyyin, and the prophets, wa atal mala ala hubbihi dhawil qurba wal yatama wal masakin, and gives money, gives from his wealth, ala hubbihi, despite that he loves, a person has love for their wealth, right? So with that love that he has for wealth, he still gives from his wealth to dhawil qurba. It's kind of special. We have dhawi. Most of the time you'll see dhil qurba. Here we've got a dhawil qurba. So it's kind of unique. Dhawil qurba, people who are related to him. Wal yatama, and the orphans. Wal masakina, and the poor. Wabn as-sabili, and the traveler, the son of the path, or the traveler. وَالسَّائِلِينَ, and people who ask. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, and those, literally, فِي الرِّقَابِ would be like in the freeing of a neck. Raqaba is a neck. So it's like to free a slave, set a person free. وَأَقَامَ, so all these are the different areas that he could be spending in from his money. And notice here we have masakina. You're going to have like masakin is always throwing people off. But here we're talking about who he's giving the money to. So it's the object. So it's going to have a masakina, wabina, right? Sa'ilina. So they're all, masakina, ibna, and sa'ilina are all the people that he's giving money to. Of course, dhawil qurba, dhawi ends with a vowel, yatama ends with a vowel, so we're not going to have that. But the masakina and ibna and sa'ilina all have fathas because we're that's the object who they're giving the money to. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ. So وَفِي الرِّقَاب ends the idea of who they're spending the money on. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ, and he established his prayer. وَآتَ الزَّكَاةَ, and he gave his zakah, his obligatory charity, or this, the zakah, the purification of your wealth. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا, and those who, what's a good for, we all know wafa, right? Wafa. So wafa is being loyal and fulfill a promise, right? So وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا, and they fulfill their covenants or their promises when they make a treaty or they make a promise or a covenant, they will fulfill it. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا, when they enter into such a contract or covenant. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ, and those who are patient in بأساء and ضراء. So بأساء usually refers to poverty. Literally the word ba's is like hardship. And so you'll have like, if you're familiar with the famous book Les Miserables, in Arabic, the Arabic translation of that is called Al-Bu'asa, the miserables, right? So Al-Bu'asa, so ba's and bu's all have to do with being in a miserable state. And so fil ba'sa refers specifically to poverty, the suffering that comes with poverty usually. Darra is also like, hardships and challenges that are coming their way. Wahin al-ba's, so maybe times of stress and difficult times. So all of these, whether they're in financial duress or whether there's other hardships that are coming their way, stressful situations, all the different hard things, they're exhibiting patience during all of those times. أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا, those are the ones who are truthful. If you're saying you're a righteous, person, these are the marks that will show whether you're being truthful in that statement. وَأُولَئِكَ, and those are the people of taqwa. Those are the ones, they are the ones who are the muttaqun. And I want you to notice the word muttaqun here, because we're going to have a lot of muttaqun, then we're going to have tattaqun, then we're going to have muttaqin, and then we're going to have more. So the idea of taqwa comes a lot on these pages. So we're going to watch out for that. So it comes a lot, and that'll make it easier to remember. Oh, these are my taqwa pages, right? So وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ, those are the people who have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what righteousness is. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give 3 different commands. And so we have, you can notice over here, there's one katab, kutiba, prescribed. So like, it's written for you or prescribed for you. There's number 1. So that's 1. Then let me move over here. Kutiba alaykum idha hadara. So here's going to be our second one right there, right? So kutiba again. And if we go to the next page, we'll see kutiba alaykum as-siyam again right here, kutiba, right? So 3 commands to the believers with the word kutiba that we're going to have in a row. And all the commands, I guess you could also remember, they all have kind of like the topic of each command has the letter sad, so you can kind of remember. First there's qisas, then there's wasiya, and then there's siyam, right? So the third one is the command of fasting. The second one is the command of when you leave money as an inheritance, what to do. And the first one is qisas, which is retribution. So يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم القصاص في القتلى. O you who believe, has been prescribed for you to have legal retribution regarding in murder cases when someone is killed. And there used to be, instead of the actual murderer being the one who needed to face the death penalty, they kind of had something, wallahu a'lam, in the jahiliyyah where, like one of your tribe killed one of our tribe, then, if you killed one of our slaves, then we need to get like overcompensation, I guess, or something. You have to give us one of your free men or something like that. I don't know how it worked, and I don't know the details of this whole thing, to be honest. But it seems that it's been, I don't know what the legal injunctions at the end here would be. One can look that up. But the idea of things being equal in this case of retribution is being highlighted. The free for the free, the slave for the slave, and the female for the female. So الحر بالحر والعبد بالعبد والأنثى بالأنثى. And I don't know what type of retribution that would be, because one thing that I know is that nobody besides a murderer would be killed. That never ever would happen. So what the details are with this free for free and slave for slave and female with female is in reference to, one would have to study. فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ شَيْءٌ. So whoever was pardoned from his brother in any way, in any matter, or anything, فَاتِّبَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَدَاءٌ إِلَيْهِ بِإِحْسَانٍ. Then the follow-up should be in goodness, and the ada and the fulfillment should be also with excellence. So let's say Allah saying here that, let's say one person killed, murdered somebody else. So that family has the right to demand that that person who killed their, relative or whatever, have to have the death sentence to them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ. But if it's pardoned, then, which, elsewhere you'll see is maybe recommended, wallahu alam. What is pardoned, then he has to follow up with that. If he says, okay, I accept no death sentence, we'll just accept blood money, then he can't go back. He has to follow up with that according to what is good and customary. You can't kind of go back on what you already agreed on. وَأَدَاءٌ إِلَيْهِ بِإِحْسَانٍ. And it should be fulfilled, the payment. So it's kind of like advice to both parties. If you already agreed to take a payment instead of, that you require death penalty, you can't go back on it. And then the other one, follow up just how what's, the regular, what's customary. And then وَأَدَاءٌ إِلَيْهِ بِإِحْسَانٍ. And then the other person has to make sure that they're the family of the murderer person or that tribe has to pay the other tribe their blood money and fulfill it in an excellent way. So this doesn't really, it's not so much applicable literally in our situation. So what one can kind of like just get general principles of fairness, general principles of following up with what you say you're going to do, general principles of the accountability, different things that we can get from this ayah that are more relevant, since the exact situation probably would not occur, hopefully not. ذلك تخفيف من ربكم ورحمة. That is an a lightening of, from your Lord, and a mercy, that, you don't have to, the murderer person does not have to face the death sentence, that it could be arranged that blood money is paid instead, for example. فَمَنِ اعْتَدَى بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. But those who transgress after that, فَلَهُ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Then they would have a painful punishment. And it says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. And know that in the death penalty for murder, that the legal retribution that would be, killing someone for the act of murder, like one may think that the death penalty is, the loss of another life, but in the grand scheme, Allah says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ. And in the act of legal retribution, there is life. يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. O people of sound hearts and minds. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may have taqwa and mindfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have that taqwa again, and it's kind of a, what do you call those kind of punishments that are in the legal system? Like it makes the crime not very tempting if you know that there's the possibility of, if you're caught, then you would have to face a death. What do they call those? Starts with the letter R. I forget now. So maybe somebody can let me know in the discussion box. So لعلكم تتقون. كتب عليكم, so in our second command, كتب عليكم إذا حضر أحدكم الموت, it's prescribed upon you if one of you, if death becomes present to one of you. So موت has a dhamma because it's the subject, right? So if death comes to one of you and he is leaving, in taraka, if he leaves, khayran, goodness, in the form of a wasiyya, in the form of a will or inheritance, that it should be للوالدين والأقربين, to his parents, to his relatives, بالمعروف, according to what is customary. And this was before the ayat of the that says this is how much you have to give to this relative and this is how much you give to that relative. These ayat preceded those. So it says, like those who are closest to you, your parents, your relatives, they would be the most deserving, and it is a haqq ala al-muttaqin, it is a right upon the people of taqwa to include those that are nearest to them, like their parents and their relatives, in their will. Now, of course, now we have the whole system that's set out, and according to the hadith, wallahu alam, you wouldn't do extra inheritance to someone who's already part of the inheritance, wallahu ta'ala alam, in general. And then there's like a small portion that person can kind of choose what they want to do with. But the overall bulk of the inheritance is already divided according to a set, the rule, the ayat coming up in Surah An-Nisa, inshallah. فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَ مَا سَمِعَهُ, says whoever changes it, the will. So let's say a person says, oh, in my will, I want to give this person this much and this person that much. And there were witnesses, right, to that. So it says, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَ مَا سَمِعَهُ. So let's say the person passed away, and then the witness, if one of them were to بدله is past tense. فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ. So as for the one who changes it after he heard it, بعد ما سمعه, after he heard it, فإنما إثمه على الذين يبدلونه. Then certainly the sin of that will be upon the ones who changed it. It's not going to be on the person who gave his, his proper due wasiyah to people, to the people closest to him. And then somebody else changed it, said, no, he was actually leaving all his money to me or something, or to this person or that person. And they changed it. The sin of changing it would be on the person who changed it. Inna Allaha sami'un alim. Certainly Allah is all hearing and all knowing. And then we'll talk next time a little bit more about the inheritance situation. And then move to fasting right in time for Ramadan. Jazakumullahu khairan, everybody. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.